Hello and welcome back. Let's catch up with Rails 4. In the previous lesson, we talked about the new way you structure your tests. Today we're going to talk about two new gems which were part of the Rails 3 framework. Let's take a look. The first behavior I want to show you is somewhat alike active record. To show you what I mean, I'm going to open the editor in the project that we had so far in the course. I'll open a model that we have, for example, post, and here you see the post class inheriting directly from active record. Now, what if you had a system that works something like Discuss? It's a service that allows you to sign up to it, and then every application or website that implements Discuss into it, you can use that platform to store your comments, instead of always having to sign up or something like that in every single blog or every single application. Discuss centralizes your ID inside. And then you simply need to post your comment and identify yourself one single time, and that's it. Now, why am I explaining this to you? Well, Active Resource is a component of Rails that has been extracted to its own gem because it was not used that often. Let me give you a brief example if you don't know what it looks like. Basically, you would have a class, for example, comment, since we're picking up on the subject, and then you would inherit it from Active Resource base. The only thing that you need to do besides this is to identify a site. You would have something like HTTP, for example, comments.yourapp.com. Let's suppose, for example, that you have this. This would be the only thing that you would require in order to be able to use comments in your posts. In order to load a particular comment, you would type comment.find, just like you would do with Active Record. You would pass an ID here, for example. In short, Active Resource allows you to simulate a database environment, but rather than using a physical database inside your servers, you have a REST endpoint. And so you can manipulate, in this case, comments through the REST API. You would be able to create new comments, retrieve them in bulk or one by one, edit them, and also destroy them. All the documentation is in this website at github.com/rails/activeresource. It's the gems repository, and you can find all the documentation in here. It tells you how to use Active Resource, and it does that in a very similar fashion to Active Record. Most of the methods are very much alike, so feel free to browse this page. The reason why this was extracted to a gem is because it was not used that often. And so it's less of a burden if you don't need that after all. Most of the applications today in the world don't use it, and that's the main reason why it was extracted. So if you still need to use Active Resource in your application, you simply need to go to the gem file in here, and anywhere you want you can type gem and then Active Resource like this, and then you need to pass a special require option and then pass active_resource. Since the name of the gem is different from the name of the library to require, you need to do this explicitly. So that is the first gem that was extracted. There's a second one, and that one is the observers gem. Let me show you what it does. So there are two kinds of observers in Rails 3 that were extracted to this gem: the model observers and the controller caching sweepers. Let's start with the model observers. In Rails 3, you would be able to generate an observer by typing Rails generate observer, and then you would pass a model. We would have an observer, for example, for post, so we would pass post like this. It would generate an observer in the models folder in here. So you would have something like post_observer.rb. This file will contain a class called post_observer, and it would inherit directly from active record :observer. By convention, this would observe the posts. Then you would specify the callbacks that you wish to observe. For example, immediately after saving a post, you would want something to happen. So you would type a method called afterSave, and then you would pass a record as the parameter. And then you would do anything that you wanted inside the method. This would be an observer. In the application file in the config folder, you would have to go inside the application class and paste this line of code. You would have to specify the list of observers to be loaded when spawning a new Rails server. So this means that the post observer would be loaded and ready to listen to changes to the post models. This feature was removed from Rails 4 because it's not used that often by everyone, and so it was extracted to a gem so that the people that don't use it don't need to load it. If you still want to keep that, you need to go to the gem file, and then somewhere in the file you need to add gem rails-observers, like this. This will enable the observer functionality again. This gem comes with the second thing that I wanted to show you, and that is the action controller caching sweepers. Let me show you. So if you recall from the lesson on caching, most of the caching now doesn't exist because of the new trends in front-end web development, taking advantage of JavaScript and all that sort of thing. So now that those new techniques regarding performance have been introduced, the technique of cache sweeping is no longer necessary, and it was swept away. Like I said, if you still need to use that, you need to go to the gem file and introduce the Rails observers gem. The same way you configure an observer, you must also configure the sweeper. Since the models folder is already available, you can add those sweepers in there. Let's say, for example, we want to sweep something regarding the posts. I would add a new post_sweeper.rb and create a new class called post_sweeper, and then it would inherit from action controller caching sweeper, like this. The same callbacks from the observer are available, so you can do something like after save and then pass the record, and then all the caching expiration instructions would be inside this method. Also, in the config/application file, you would include here the post_sweeper in here, so it would be enabled and ready to listen to the changes on the post models. So basically they're the same, and that's why they were extracted to a single gem. However, the sweeper class has methods that are related to cache expiration, whereas the observer has methods related to the models. If you want to know more on the Rails observers, check out the Rails project in there at github.com/rails/rails-observers. They explain you what the observers and the sweepers do. They have good documentation in there, so be sure to check it out. Also, you might want to check out the API documentation for sweeping and observer. So that is it on the extraction of these two gems, active resource and observers. They were useful back then, but now there are other techniques that solve the same problem in a different way. I hope you have enjoyed the content today, and be sure to tune in the next lesson because we'll learn how to upgrade a Rails 3.2 app into a Rails 4 app. I hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching.